We have a quorum, 6 members present, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will everybody please bow their heads? Heavenly Father, we come before you with humility and thanks, especially at this time of the year, for your health, for all the blessings that we enjoy. And tonight, as the new WEDC prepares to take their seats, please guide us with humility, with intelligence, with wisdom, and that every decision we make up here is not for ourselves, but for the betterment of Windcrest. All this we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, there is one member absent. We have 6 members present, which gives us a quorum. The next item on the agenda would be swearing in the new board members. Ready? Yes.
Where do you want me to take this?
You can show them all at once if you want, or if you might ask them if they prefer to be
I don't want to.
sworn in, kind of their preference.
Let me ask you, how would y'all rather be sworn in, individually or all at once?
I think all at once is
All at
well.
once? Okay, great. So y'all would all stand up. Raise your right hands. And when I say I, you fill in your name. Just repeat after me. I
I,
Jennifer
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of
of the office
Windcrest EDC Board Member of the City of Windcrest,
Windcrest GDC member of the City of
City of
Windcrest,
Windcrest,
State of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the State of Texas.
and the State of Texas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Y'all are all official members. You'll all sign this. And you watch it.
You're missing? I'm texting people, I know where you are.
Were you back? Were you back there? Yeah, I was sitting right there. I didn't realize that would be a. Sorry. I did my first one. Can we consider him sworn in, Joe?
Yes, he's sworn by himself.
I'll swear him in.
Wait a second, David, just swear in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll sit in there. Sorry about that. Kevin, I didn't see you.
Oh, damn. Come on, you see.
Well, I just
You got everything in front of you.
Yeah, there you go.
Excuse me. Please, please.
He says, when he worked for one Yahoo Hey, what over? Hey, what I got to be the one person. I've never had any things.
Mr. Fagan, do you mind if I introduce our new employee while we're doing this? Yeah, let me ask Karen, would you please come to the podium?
He's gonna swear him in real quick.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
You'll raise your right hand. Yeah. State your name. I
Kevin Compton,
do solemnly swear or affirm
Ms. Colley swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of Windcrest EDC board member
of the office of duty of Windcrest board member
of the city of Windcrest,
in the city of Windcrest,
state of Texas,
state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and with the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the state of
and
Texas.
the state of Texas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
So maybe want to just before the instructions, explain the voting system. That information.
Thank you, sir. And the attorney asked me to kind of explain a little bit. Right here on the dais, by your microphone, there's a button.
This
If the button is red, you are on. Okay, so any kind of whispering or anything you do could be heard. Okay?
Just
But
telling.
what I do need for everybody to do, pay attention to, is please speak into the microphone, so that way, not just the audience here, but people out that aren't able to make it to the meeting can see and can hear. A lot of times people say, well, I speak loud enough, but you gotta remember, you're speaking to people that aren't in this courtroom. Any questions?
Sir.
Congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
If, Mr. Fagan, if you'll allow me, Mario Hernandez, I'm Executive Director, and we had been trying to fill a position that it's really our full-time position at the EDC office for the last month or so, and we're fortunate to have hired Karen Nelson. I want to introduce her to everyone. She actually doesn't start until Monday, but I want to, Karen, if you would, come to the podium, please. And we're very fortunate to have her. She's going to make a real strong team member and being able to run the office and help on the economic development projects. Karen, I'd ask you just to a quick what you've been doing and over your career, and then we can go on with the agenda after that. Mr. Fagan, thank you.
Hello, thank you for giving me a moment to introduce myself. I'm Karen Nelson. I will be retiring from Guadalupe County as of tomorrow. It'll be my last day after 23 years. I've worked for state agencies for about 28 years. I'm a court coordinator for Judge Robin Dwyer. I run 8 courts. And I was looking for something new to do, so I'm really looking forward. I love Windcrest, I love the area, and I'm really looking forward to working with each and every one of you and making a difference in your community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, being here today as well. Ms. Fagan?
Okay, I would like to give each of the new board members a chance to introduce themselves and tell a little bit about their background. And I'll start off. My name is John Fagan. I'm a longtime resident of Windcrest. I've lived here for over 30 years. I have recently served on the Bear County Water Control and Improvement District number 10 for 4 years. I consider this being selected for this position a high honor, and I look forward to serving the people of Windcrest through this very important position.
My name is Jennifer Newman. We've lived in Windcrest not a very long time, certainly not 30 years. I'm very honored to have the position here, and I'm excited to bring some openness from the WEDC to the public, and I'm looking forward to getting a lot of work done because I'm here to work.
I'm Richie Stipson. We've lived in Windcrest for a long time, since 1977. I'm a furniture factory representative. I've traveled the state of Texas. I've been around a lot of good and big and little businesses, and I look forward to working with them.
My name is Patricia Brown. Okay, sorry. My name is Patricia Brown. I've lived in Windcrest 54 years. I moved here as a child bride, of course. And so I've had, my children were at Windcrest Elementary and went through high school. And I was started out with a commercial real estate company, which was the largest in San Antonio at that time. I left there, came to Windcrest and was the city secretary, the city treasurer, municipal clerk, a purchasing agent, all at the same time. We had very small, and I was also involved in the architectural design of this building. So I've been on EDC. I was sworn in March 1917, and but I wasn't reappointed in September. So now I am back being appointed again, and I will pledge to be open. And I think that people that know me know that I'm like that, and I'm really happy to be here.
Good evening, my name is George Alba, and I am honored to be appointed to this board. I'm going to do my best to not let anybody down. I do have some experience on other boards and commissions in the city of San Antonio with the Transportation Advisory Board as their chairman, the taxi industry representative on the Airport Advisory Commission, and I've served on the Convention and Visitors Commission as well. So I do have a little experience in this. My own goal is just to do everything that I think, and the rest of this board agrees, is the best thing for Windcrest. I remember many years ago, until somebody said they lived in Windcrest, the reaction was, ooh, that's a nice place. And it still is, but it needs a little nip and tuck, a little bit of a facelift. So I want to make it a place of ooh again.
Hello, my name's Bob Cunningham. I've lived in Windcrest 27 years. I'm honored to be part of this team. I look forward to working with these people on this board to bring good businesses to Windcrest that return on our investment and help them be successful. I spent 40 years working for corporate America in various jobs and have dealt with everybody from the single store owner all the way up to Walmart and the U.S. government. So I've done it for the big guy and the little guy, and honored to be here again.
Hello, my name is Kevin Compton.
I got to Windcrest as soon as I could. I've been here 2 years. Born and raised in San Antonio. When I was able to afford here, I moved in here. I have been with Walmart for 30 years. I'm currently a store manager. I just want to bring any experiences that I have in the retail business and whatever I've learned over the last 30 years in retail. So, great. Thank you.
Okay, before Mario gives a presentation on the history of the WEDC, I want to make a couple of statements. First, you've probably noticed from the explanation by the different new members that there is a strong business component on this board. Actually, 5 out of the 7 members have a business background, and I believe that that was part of the intention that the city council had for appointing members to this board, and that is to put a stronger emphasis on business, because after all, this is our main objective, bringing new business to Windcrest. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I want to thank the previous board members who served on this board. They did a lot of hard work. Their contributions are very much appreciated. They brought new businesses to Windcrest. They built Racker Road. And we have a real debt of gratitude to them for all the things that they did. Mario, our director, has now a presentation he wants to give.
We're having technical difficulties, so we're not going to be able to have the PowerPoint up on the screens now. The individual board members have a copy in front of them. Let me start by saying it's a privilege to be working with Windcrest and this new board. I've met all of you. I've had a chance to visit with some of you, and I certainly will with all of you in the short term. Looking forward to some very exciting things that we're working on, and also it's as we've discussed with I've discussed with a number of you. There's a changing community. It is very much so. It is a very important time for economic development because of the demographic changes, the assets and liabilities that we have in the community. So I think this board is set up well to address those things. I'm going to go over this PowerPoint, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the items. And some items, just so you know, I will actually comment in executive session more about them. For example, I will mention the importance of the continued work with Rackspace and the importance of that negotiation on the Master Economic Development Incentive Agreement ongoing right now. But I won't get into detail on the current status of it until we get into executive session. Let me first start by saying Windcrest is one of the communities in Texas that adopted the Type B corporation format in economic development some time back. The citizens had to vote to dedicate 1/4 of 1 penny cent sales tax for funding the organization. And if you don't know, there's over 500 cities in Texas, primarily smaller cities, that have this dedicated sales tax for economic development. Some Type A and Type B operations. Type B allows you a little more flexibility on how you use the money. The scope of work, the things that are allowed under the Act are listed in state statute, and I refer to them in the PowerPoint, the chapters, but I'm not going to go into detail. Suffice to say that it allows us to the city collect the sales tax, pass it through, and it provides about $500,000 a year for economic development activity, therefore the budget of the organization. I mentioned that I am the executive director and I work on a contract basis at the pleasure of this board, and I work a certain number of hours per week, but I'm available to you at all times. Let me touch on some recent activity I'm excited about. Of course, we on page 2, on locations and expansions, of course, some of the crown jewels that this community's worked on. Rack space, of course, is just important, not just to Windcrest, but to this state and to this country. It's just a huge technology company, so it's something that when you talk about taking care of what you have, has to be our focus there. Another key project that I was also very proud of how Windcrest went about their business was bringing that Holiday Inn Express here, very unique structure to that deal, and one that does not happen but for this organization. On the retail side, we've had a lot of success. In-N-Out Burger, when you look at some of the others along that little frontage on 35, there's a number of retail operations that have recently come, but there's also a lot of success and opportunity on the commercial and industrial side, particularly along Eisenhower. Companies like Ferguson, U.S. Auto Force, Halifan USA, Nexus, Green Tech, all have come because of the development that has been encouraged by Windcrest along the Eisenhower corridor. That's a lot of it is what I would term, it's not just warehouse space, but office showroom kind of operations that have brought a lot of key activity of new companies here. And those companies are because a lot of them are inventory heavy, they're going to be paying quite a bit of taxes in the form of property taxes on inventory. Another key thing that we've worked on and continue to work on that I want to mention up front is the Global Building LLC company and their project of buying and refurbishing the 2 Four Winds office buildings that are really the only, outside of the rack space, office space, are really the only 2 office buildings, certainly multiple story office buildings that we have in the community, and critically important that we keep those offices occupied and keep that project healthy. We actually had to go out and find new ownership for those buildings, because once the federal government moved out of what I call Building 1, the one closest to the Valero Circle K there, it was completely empty. And Building 2 only had 18% occupancy, and so it was not a good picture going forward. But Global has come in, bought the first one, and now is closed on the second building as well. Has already committed to invest $7 million in the first one. It'll give us some modern office space to help attract some IT type of offices and back office operations that'll bring a different job and payroll, most importantly, to Windcrest. So something we continue to work on with the city government. The city government is of course always key in the economic development process. At the end of the day, we're the sales team. We're the team that provides prospect assistance, company assistance. But the city government has the regulatory and the permitting and all those responsibilities that also have a big role about guiding businesses. The other one that I'll mention while I'm talking about locations is the wash tub. Not, it may not be a sexy project, but it's a $2 million investment that adds a lot of value in the community, brings in property tax, brings another service and function to the citizens of Windcrest. Let me, on the third page, I want to comment on, and some I've already commented on, rack space, of course, critically important that the Master Economic Development Incentive Agreement be settled, that they be happy. We want to keep them happy and keep that headquarters, and that's our number one priority, is to keep the headquarters and the CEO here. even though the ownership now is out of New York, but there could be a lot of changes coming there. So key activity that we focus on, I mentioned already, the Four Winds, Eisenhower Point Business Park, where the Quick Trip operation is going. That 27 acres, outside of the 23 acres behind the Home Depot, that is going to develop differently. That 27 acres is really the last solid piece of commercial real estate, commercial industrial real estate that we have to develop. So critically important that we bring quality investments, that we help fill the need for certain types of operations by working with that group that owns the Eisenhower Point at 35 and Eisenhower Road. The pad sites and the other land that we have fee title to are things that some of which we'll discuss in executive session are key items for us as well, particularly the pad sites on the 66 acres that Rackspace has, because we've got fee title to a lot of those and want to influence what goes on those, but it's very important that we work with Rackspace to get some job-producing, sales tax-producing types of investments to go on those key properties. We haven't given up on the senior living. It's gone. The current structure and the current ownership structure has changed, and we still believe in the site, those 23 acres being really a premier site for that function. And actually, we're working with another engineering firm that has another group that would look at the site for a similar function. It doesn't have to be that, but from looking at the market study, I would think that would be a very good use for it. And my point is that 23 acres right in the center of Windcrest is of key importance to the organization. I'll also mention the two that are under construction that we helped bring. Smoothie King is now building on the old church's property, and of course, Mr. Ho and the Tokyo Express people have been busy building on the old Whataburger project. I've also got some others that I'll talk about in the executive session that are more confidential, but I did want to mention those two because it is a very important role of this organization to monitor the developments, particularly along a commercial strip like Walsham, and try to avoid the abandonment of some of those projects. That is a lot of old retail space. It's a challenge, but as the buildings are turned over, it's a challenge for us and the ownership to find another tenant. So it goes from churches to a Smoothie King. It goes from Whataburger, and Whataburger stays in the community, to Tokyo Express at the Whataburger. But that's a key part of what we have to do. Is whenever when the Luby's closes, we're talking to the Luby's people now about what we're going to do with that complex. How can we help to make sure that somebody invests in it and we get new tenants in that, and those are critical things that the organization has and will focus on. Future challenges on the page. This community is landlocked, and we need to maximize tax revenue for the city and the citizens. So the focus on specific kinds of industry, retail, for example, and maximizing the sales tax that's generated for city government helps in so many different ways, not the least of which is it keeps the government from having to increase property taxes for the local citizens. So that has to be a priority for us, and we're funded from sales tax as well. 1/4 of 1 cent comes for that. So maximizing, increasing the Windcrest sales tax is a future challenge for us. we could possibly look at other programs, maybe an incentive program to help with the targeting of new IT types of operations for the entire community, but specifically for the Four Winds complex. It's going to have 180,000 square feet of renovated modern office space that I think is going to be an attraction for that type of operation. This board organization needs to assist on those kinds of things. So I'll be discussing possible incentives to use for that purpose. Although it's ongoing talk in the community, and all of you know more about it than I do, I think we still have to be very aware of the importance of the Windcrest Golf Club. I mean, that is the central jewel to the community, and we all know that there's flux in what's going on over there. You will decide whether there's a role for the Economic Development Corporation in that, and what role that would be. But that's a key example of something that has to be on the top of mind for you as board members. The other thing I'll mention, and Karen's going to be a key person in this, is Windcrest has always had a focus on local businesses, as you should, because you're a landlocked city that needs to take care of what they have, what you have. So what we're going to do is make a hard push to formalize, institutionalize, if you will, the Business Retention Expansion Program. Let's make sure that the local businesses understand what assistance they can get from the EDC and the city. Let's make sure that they understand that we're thankful for what they do here, the investments they have, the jobs that they produce. So a formalized, strong business retention expansion program is also a key challenge for us going forward. So with that, I'll stop and I'll have a few brief comments in executive session. Mr. Fagan?
Okay. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is pertains to training on the Open Meetings Act. I believe Mr. Hoffer, you're going to.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my name is Joe Hoffer. I am your legal counsel for the EDC. And rather than take an hour or two of training this evening, I want to walk through the board resource book that we gave you, so you kind of know what's in there and what we can do with this moving forward. Mario and I have talked for months about preparing something like this, and this was a great opportunity to just do it because you need it, to give you that background as to your mission, your purpose, and what the legal requirements are. So in the book, there is a dongle with a USB. On the USB, there's additional resources that we didn't want to kill any more trees than possible, or have to go to Walmart and raid you for paper. But you have very large volumes, including the Open Meetings Handbook, the Public Information Handbook, the Economic Development Handbook. Those are all several hundred pages from the Attorney General's office, and documents from the Texas Municipal League that we've got there. They're available. They're the most current documents you can have. They are written for the layman. They're not written for the lawyer. They are keyword searchable, so you can hit Control F on your computer and pull them up. And we've also included a PDF of the statutes that are primarily controlling the Economic Development Corporation. These are from the Local Government Code, Chapter 501, 502, and 505, which are the most likely statutes that we look to when we're looking at what controls economic development and projects. Also in the tabs, we've included some resources from the Texas Economic Development Corporation, the TEDC, which we have access to their resources as well, both through the city, and also our law firm has membership there, including an introduction to economic development in the state, a pretty good overview of what your job is now as board members of the EDC, I've also included tab 2, the amended and restated certificate of formation and amended articles of incorporation. Those are the most current that we have. And you'll notice it's not a great copy of some of these documents because we inherited some of these from the former EDC attorney who passed away a few years ago, and that is the only copy we have. That's the most legible copy we have. At some point, we may look at another project of updating these documents, doing amended, restated. They are current with the current law, but we could formalize them a little bit more if you wanted to in the future. Also, your amended bylaws are there, tab 3. Tab 4 is blank, that's for your board agendas and board minutes, so you can slip them in there if you want to keep a copy. Tab 5 are existing policies and procedures. And some of these are in draft form. Some of these we'll talk more about in executive session. We've been working on a record retention policy. We've been working on a fiscal management policy under the Texas Public Funds Investment Act that would coordinate with the city. That's been an ongoing project. So you've got the most recent draft that we negotiated, frankly reviewed with the former city attorney. My office prepared this, reviewed with the former city attorney, reviewed with the former board, including on the former board had another member, Ms. Pepe, who had a lot of experience with public funds investment, and so took a deep dive into this document, but it's has not been approved by the city or reconciled, so it's just in process, but I wanted you to have a copy of where we're at and where we're going. And there's also a shared service agreement pending with the city that's been in process for a number of months that we'll talk more about in executive session as well. And then there's the vehicle use policy. If anyone's wondering about the Suburban or Tahoe or whatever that black fleet vehicle is out there, the board had adopted a use policy for who could use it, what it could be used for, documentation required for its use. So that's included there as well. We've also given you the current budget, of course, subject to your review and future amendments. I've got a project, tab 7, this is very helpful. And a resource that I frequently refer to, I've got a bookmark, but I thought it'd be helpful for you all to have, is a list of what type of projects we can participate in. And this is a general project summary list for type A, type B, and we are, of course, a type B. So it's a pretty helpful list of what we can and can't do. It's not, I would say, 100% complete. There's always nuances and wrinkles, but it is the most complete summary that you can have without spending a lot of money on someone creating a custom one. Very good resource for you to have, because I think you'll find that you may be approached by promoters and others now that you're on the board with, hey, I've got a hot idea. That doesn't mean we can do it. There's lots of great ideas, but we do have some restrictions, in fact, quite a few restrictions on what you as an EDC board can commit to versus what the city can commit to because of the type B election. So not every project is allowed, or not every project is as simple as some might have you believe. We've also included under tab 8 a sales tax primer. You will have access to confidential sales tax information as a member of the board. These are not public records. They are not to be distributed to the public. The law says they are confidential because, frankly, they're tax rolls of businesses. And that's why they're very, very, for those of you that are in business, you know how that works. So you as a board have really a sacred responsibility to, one, ensure that those monies are being spent appropriately, but also to safeguard those things that are confidential. Mr. Hernandez has included tab 9, a coordinator summary evaluation form, an executive director summary evaluation form, and one for the coordinator position. And then tab 10 and 11, I've included a more simplified version of the Open Meetings Act Made Easy and Public Information Act Made Easy, published by the Municipal League. They're good resources to use. And I'll just, in terms of training, I'll tell you that the Attorney General has a very good, and I've sent out a link to everybody that I had an access to, a link to training that you can get on the Attorney General's website. The City Secretary also asked that you review that, print out a copy of the certificate. The training I can give you live is very similar to the video training, and frankly, there's no specific type of training you have to have other than we want you to go through both Public Information Act and Open Meetings Act training. They're both an hour long, and after you complete the hour, you do get a certificate you can print out. And in terms of that, you are under the Open Meetings Act, so a couple things I'll advise you on generally, and then I would answer specific questions in executive session so that it's protected by the attorney-client privilege. But generally speaking, a quorum of board members cannot discuss or transact business or receive information together that relates to the public office you hold, that relates to anything having to do with the city of Windcrest and economic development activities. A quorum of board members does not mean that you have to all be together. A quorum of board members can be created by text message. A quorum of board members can be created by email chain. A quorum of board members can be created by the telephone effect. So let's say that 2 or 3 of you are gathered together and receive information, and then one of those 2 or 3 picks up the phone or sends a text message to a 4th or 5th board member. We've created what the law recognizes as a walking quorum, and they prohibit that. That's a violation of the Open Meetings Act. Your business has to be transacted here with transparency in an open meeting setting to the public. I'll also recognize that even if you're transacting business in your personal email accounts, if it relates to the City of Windcrest business, that's a public record, and it could be also an open meetings issue. So just be very cognizant of that, of how you transact business, and try to avoid those settings where there may be multiple of you together. You know, if it's 1 or 2 of you having lunch together, that's fine. But the 1 or 2 of you having lunch together, that then you loop in another board member, that's where we can have some issues and some concerns. And it's very important that we comply with this law. It's our obligation, as you've taken that oath, to uphold and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and the state of Texas. That includes these laws. And there are also penalties we want to avoid with all of these laws. They're very serious, and transparency is important for our democracy and for how local government works. But particularly, we find jeopardy in form of email, text, social media, those things, or even attending. And we've had situations where a quorum of the board has wanted to attend another committee or another board or council meeting, and we've got to be careful about that. And we may end up having a posting issue where we want to post a meeting just so you can be lawfully conducting your business. And here's the other wrinkle. A meeting does not just mean a formal setting like this. A meeting means any place where you receive information relating to your public office. So just receiving information counts as a meeting. And it's kind of a strange thing. You say, well, I was just listening in. But if you're receiving information about your public office and there's a quorum of you, or through that telephone effect, a quorum is involved, that is considered a meeting under the law. So I'm happy to answer any questions in executive session about how these laws work, about your specific duties. And we'll be reviewing quite a bit of things to get you up to speed quickly on the current and most recent economic development activities that are under the attorney-client privilege, and also matters of confidentiality that frankly must be to protect the city of Windcrest, and that's why these things are there, to protect the city of Windcrest long-term and short-term. That's why these things are done in executive session. All right, any specific questions that I could address in open session? All right, I'm very glad to work with you all. I look forward to it. And if you have questions about anything in the packet, I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, reports on pending economic development projects, activities, or recent policies. Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, sir, and I've, the ones that I want to comment on, I'll do an executive session.
Okay.
I've commented on most of those.
Okay, next item under discussion, Act number 1, election of officers of the Board of Directors. And at this time, we're going to vote to elect a president, a vice president, a secretary, and treasurer. And I would like to lead off the nominations by nominating Jennifer Newman for president of the board.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any other nominations?
You just call the vote out as unanimous for the record.
Unanimous vote. Any other nominations? Anybody else?
For a new position.
For vice president, anybody have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate George Alva for vice president.
Second. All those in favor of George Alva for vice president? Unanimous vote. Any other nominations for treasurer or secretary?
I'd like to nominate Hob Cunningham for secretary.
Parliamentary rusty.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Another unanimous vote. Okay, treasurer. I would like to nominate Pat Brown. Sorry. Pat Brown for treasurer.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Okay, we have elected then a new board, and at this point, I'm turning things over to Jennifer.
Real quick, for the record, everyone's accepting those offices?
Yes.
Speak out, forever hold your peace.
Yes. Pat?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was writing.
Joe would like to know if you accept the office.
Oh, yes.
Unanimously, we accept.
Yes.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is to consider and take possible action on reconstituting board committees. Mario, do you have something for us on that?
Yes, let me first explain that the active committee that we have is Planning and Special Projects Committee that was established, I think it was last year, it may have been more than a year ago. But that Madam President, is the only committee we have that serves as our point for really beginning new projects. For example, they recommended some changes and funding level for the storefront grant project that was approved by the board last year. There is consideration being given, working with the city and the Women's Club on a program that would involve WEDC trying to get more businesses involved in light up, and specifically looking at Walsham Road, the front door to Windcrest and the light up program to see how we may be able to involve businesses, get them more exposure and generate sales that way as well. So that's another idea pending that the committee. The other one that I've been working on that will come to this board and that committee if it continues is the incentive program, the Windcrest job incentive program that I have drafted preliminary guidelines for that sets aside some of our reserves now that the organization is able to have reserves, because for a long time it was committing every penny to pay off the loan that was necessary to fulfill our commitments to the rack space project in building Racker Road. And when I first came on board, all the money was going to that. Now that we have some reserves, and it's always good that an organization like this has some to carry out economic development, the committee wanted to bring forward a program that would help with office types of operations and specifically targeting certain IT types of jobs, and again for office space that all over Windcrest, but specifically the 180,000 feet that is coming online in the next 12 months or so. So those are the types of projects. I included in your package a memo from the past that went to the board from the committee, just so it kind of summarizes some of the activity that the committee was undertaking, and to give you a little background of how it was functioning. But it is another level, if you will, for board members to have input. I, of course, would at their direction carry out any recommendations on economic development projects or programs.
At this time, I'm wondering if we could entertain a motion to table this, as we haven't had time to read all of the information that you've provided and understand exactly what's being asked of us here.
I make a motion that we table this item, considering the reconstituting committees until our next meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous? Okay. So, Mario, on that, so going forward, if we could get some more information on exactly what those committees had been working on, so we can kind of see where the momentum was going. We don't want to just dismantle everything just because, but I think we need some more information on where they were in their processes to determine where to go forward.
I'll do that, and I'll summarize some of what I just rattled off, and it'll give you a good indication on the direction that the committee was going and what recommendations they were making.
Sounds good. The next item on the agenda is to review and take possible action on current financials. I believe our municipal finance officer will be briefing us.
You have in your packet copies of the year-ending financials, by the way.
Let me make a statement, so I get Mr. Hoffman at it to begin with. On the Public Information Act, if y'all would like a city-provided email address.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
Regarding public information, if you want to keep the city, your business separate from your personal business, the city would be happy to set up a city-provided email address.
Oh, great.
If you would just let Mario know, and we will set one up. Okay, I'm just going to hit some quick highlights. Sales tax revenue was more than we budgeted. It was favorable. Expenditures were less than we budgeted and favorable. At the end of the year, we had $657,000 of cash. At the end of November, we have $707,000 in cash. So as I was talking with Mario earlier today, I would ask the treasurer or the board to consider, if we're not going to spend the money in the near future, that we move $400,000 or $500,000 this into the Tex Pool or Lone Star investment program. Not great interest, but better than what cost pays. Any questions?
Is that something we would be required to do tonight?
No.
Can't do tonight.
No, but we've had previous discussions that if the board doesn't foresee a $400,000 project coming up in the next 4, 5, 6 months, then it would be to the benefit of the board and the city that we move this money into an investment fund.
We could also put that in CDs with banks.
We could. You lose some flexibility on liquidity by doing a CD.
And Joe will cover some, or at least they've seen the draft of the investment policy. And by the way, just as an aside for the board, I have been designated as the investment officer for the corporation as well, of course, with your direction. And of course, an organization our size and type, we're not going to stray far from government guaranteed accounts and CDs and those types of things. But to Don's point, there is better ways to have that money sitting while we decide what is a good economic development use of those funds. Have it sit somewhere where it earns a little bit more.
Okay. Do you have anything else for us, Don? Okay, thank you. The next item in the agenda is review and possible action on board policies. You have something for us on that, Mario?
Actually, I
think that was the just in case agenda item.
Okay.
We skipped 4, is that what you said that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I went out of order. Discuss and possible action on WEDC events, conferences, scheduling, and meeting dates and times.
That, Madam President, is two things. First, your decision about how often you want to meet, and is 5 o'clock on the second Thursday of each month what you want to do. I mean, that's, I think, we need some direction from you on that. And secondly, the only other thing that we do in terms of what I will call external marketing, we're fairly limited in what we do in external marketing, rightfully so, with the size of the city and we're overshadowed by the metropolitan area and the image of San Antonio. But nonetheless, we have in over at least the past 2 years that I know of, attended one conference that is retail concentration. It is the ICSC retail real estate trade show that's held every year I think it's always in Las Vegas, Nevada. But that is the gathering of, you name and the mayor and a couple of council members went with us last year, and that's where you can sit and talk to every restaurant and retail chain and hotel chains and things like that. It is a sales trip. It is a cold calling trip. It's a tough trip. So Pat's the one that suggested that we look at that to see, one, do we want to continue to do that? I mean, that's by far our most expensive proposition in terms of external marketing, if I can call it that, because it'll cost us on our side, even if the mayor and city council members that attended last year paid their own way. We didn't pay for those. We paid for 2 of our board members and myself, and it still was a $15,000 proposition for us. So in an organization our size, it can be one of our larger expenditures. And I'm not sure, to what you were saying a few minutes ago about gathering information, Madam President. You may want to look at what this means to us. My understanding is, I know we met with Quick Trip when we were there. So we made contact there. I know In-N-Out Burger was a key contact that was made there. I don't know of others that have come to fruition in the way of a job-producing investment. It's always a long shot when you know how it is in sales. We do those kind of things, but that's Pat. If I'm stating this correctly, that's what you wanted consideration for.
I would like to have some analysis on what type of return on our investment we've received since we've attended that in the past. So if we could actually do an analysis of money that we've put out and business generated from it, so that we can make an informed decision on whether it is worth the money. Conceptually, the concept sounds reasonable, that you would spend money to get in front of people that you could hopefully attract to Windcrest, like a steakhouse. But a world-class steakhouse, right? So the concept is one thing. The analysis is a deeper dive. I think we need to be able to have enough facts to determine if the juice is worth the squeeze on that. Yes, Pat?
Well, I'd like to make a comment.
Can you talk into the microphone, please?
When WEDC has gone to Las Vegas, and unfortunately, people associate Las Vegas with whoopee and stuff like that. It happens to be the largest convention center in the United States. And if you said you were going to Chicago, people wouldn't even think the same thing about it. But when WEDC has gone out there, they have just had a brochure, which to me, they've had a very unsophisticated one. But Converse, which I know that you go over there, they have an actual booth out there. I don't think that we should go into that thing of paying the amount for a booth, and I don't even know what a booth costs, but I'm sure it's not cheap. So I think the fact of us going out and having a little brochure that you can hand out to people, and it's not really, I think in the past, there's been too many people that have gone out there that don't really have a background as far as marketing. Now, I've been in real estate for 39 years as far as construction and things like that. And you've got to understand negotiating, marketing, and all that things to be in that. And I think that in the past, people that have gone out there, that they haven't had that kind of experience. And I know now, like now on the board, that we've got people there that have been involved in marketing.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like I said, Mario, I think we just need more analysis as far as what we actually get for that money. And it's a good point, Pat, just because the conference is held in Las Vegas doesn't mean that everybody's going out there partying. I know I can speak for myself. If I were to go to that conference, it wouldn't matter where it was, I'd be there to
Well, I
work.
think it's, as I said, it's the city name, and people say, oh, you know, we're going.
It has a connotation,
But
yes.
you could see the things, and I've got right now, all the brochure about every single seminar that you're attending, and I mean, you don't have any time to party during the daytime if you go to all those seminars.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the institutional knowledge that you bring from having been here. I appreciate that. So I think, do we need to have a motion to table that specifically?
There's no action to take, it's just discussion.
Just discuss.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't have to table it, it'll just be an agenda and we'll bring it back up when it's ready for his report.
Okay.
Just see if there's any other discussion. then move on.
Unless there's any other discussion, I think we just need to move that to the future. Okay. And then on the other item that you mentioned, Mario, as far as meeting times, I would say that we need to have some discussion about that. The second Thursday at 5 o'clock works for me, but we need to hear from everybody, so I'll open that up to discuss. Yes, George?
Second Thursday is great. Could we move it to 5:30?
Fine by me. I mean, we need to.
Give people a chance to have work. Yeah, get off work, get over here.
We have to be careful, though, that we don't, there's, the water board meeting, I think, is right after this meeting, so we want to make sure that we don't conflict with other boards, other committees. I think once a month is plenty.
Yeah, once a month.
Correct. So David, could you let us know what, I know that tonight the Water District will be meeting at 6:30
Yes, ma'am.
after us. Is that going to be the same? Are they the second Thursday at 6:30 as well, or is that?
They are usually the same time, and theirs is usually right after the WEDC, which usually is at 5 o'clock. But I don't see a reason why y'all couldn't have yours at 5:30. Then postpone it.
Well, then, if
It's up
that's
to
the
you.
case, if the Water District is meeting on the second Thursday as well, maybe we need to pick a different night of the week so that we can not have to be crammed in time and space.
Mondays are usually
City Council.
city council meetings.
Yes, sir.
Tuesdays, we have court, okay? And court can run anywhere from up to 7 o'clock sometimes. Then Wednesdays is, I think, a pretty good time for.
Are you sure the water board normally meets after RB meetings? Normally, they're cleared out, like, we're the last ones in on the second Thursday.
I'm just thinking.
I'll double check with the water board.
I'm just
Tonight's an
thinking-
exception.
I'm just thinking maybe Wednesday would be a better night of the week, as there's not another regularly scheduled meeting that same day.
Let me check the schedule, and then I will get back with you tomorrow.
Okay.
Directly with you or with Mario, I don't know, who would you like to talk to?
Just, you have a standing meeting set, you know, that it is the second Thursday standing, so you would need board action to change it, unless it's, you just have a special called meeting to change when you're gonna meet.
Well, I think unless we know of a specific conflict, I think Wednesdays at the second Wednesday at 5:30, it sounds like would work for everyone on the board.
Do we need a motion for that?
You would.
Actually.
Yes.
Yes. And I make a motion that we conduct our once-a-month meeting on the second Wednesday at 5:30 p.m.
All those in favor? Pat? Raise your right hand, please. The other right hand? Thank you. All right, so it has been moved. We will conduct our meetings the second Wednesday at 5:30. Thank you.
5:30.
5:30. Okay. I believe that was everything on item 4, correct, Mario?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is review and possible action on board policies.
That was kind of a catch-all that we put in there, right, Joe? Was there, I don't remember.
That's correct. It was a catch-all in case there was something you all may have wanted to do coming in.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and open that up to discussion to the entire
Yes, ma'am.
board. If there's anyone who has anything to discuss about board policies.
I think at this point, we need more time to really find out more about board policies before we really get into any kind of changes.
Agreed.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. No action taken. The last item on the agenda is consider and take possible action on new resolutions for bank, investment, and other account signature cards and authorized signers. Mario, could you tell us what that is about?
Yes, ma'am. We're need signatures from the officers or other board members for our primary checking account. We'll likely want to add a signature also to our credit card account as well. Right now, I'm the only one that has a copy of the credit card, and I'm the administrator of the account, but I think it would be good policy to have a board member on there as well, and we'll likely issue one to Karen as well for incidentals, and know that we don't use those things, but for office supply and stuff like that. I mean, it's unless we're authorized, like on the ICSC trip, we incur more expenses, but we're very diligent about how those things are used, but it's just going to be better for us to have signatures on both accounts from board members. So we just need to decide who we take off of there, and we'll do that by reviewing current signature cards, and then we would ask you to think about today or next month, but today preferably to add a couple of signatures to those accounts.
Okay, at this...
You have, excuse me, I'm sorry, Ms. Matt. You do have a copy of the resolution in your packet that I provided you. It's very short, very cut and dry. Technically, you authorize, the resolution authorizes, takes some names off and puts some names on a checking account, so.
So the names of the previous card holders, should they not have been on here already?
I guess I should have put them on there, but I'm not, we just did that because I was just put on because we were, the entire board, all the signatures had changed, so I'm going to answer it this way, George, that I'm not sure that signatures take off, but I will double check that. And if Joe agrees, passing the resolution by allowing us to fill in signatures that we want removed and add the names and signatures that you want on there, would that be okay, Joe, to state it that way?
What would work for the record would be to remove current, so we want a motion to remove all current signatories for the financial accounts, bank accounts, and any credit card account or other financial accounts. And then a motion, after you wipe everyone off, then you would have a motion to approve who you want to have on the bank account, credit card account, or other financial accounts, which could be the, I guess, text pool or something else. Not sure all what accounts you all have, but we'll wipe everyone off and then put on who you want.
Okay.
And just for clarity, normally it's been Mr. Hernandez and the president of the board and possibly one other member of the board. Does not have to be the treasurer, by the way. Sorry, Pat. Could be the treasurer, or the treasurer could say, I'm not a signer, and so I'm just going to be reviewing financials, but I don't want to sign anything. That's another consideration you could have.
All right, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion for removing former board members from all of our bank and credit card accounts.
Well, we need the motion first, so I make that motion that we remove all signatories from the current accounts.
Second? Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. And then I'll entertain a motion for who we think should be, who we think should replace the members that we removed.
Okay, I make a motion that Mario Hernandez, Jennifer Newman, and Pat Brown, the treasurer, be the 3 signatories on the accounts.
I second that motion.
All those in favor, oh, do I have to ask for discussion?
Yeah.
You have to ask for you ask for a second. Once you have a second, any discussion. If there's not a second, then there's no discussion, it just dies.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion that has been seconded? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous, thank you. Okay, so the signatories will be myself, Mario, and Pat Brown. Okay.
Just, oops, for clarity, I would ask that Mario will pass the signature card around to sign, I'm sorry, the resolution to sign, and then Mario, on the template resolution that we use, if you'll actually fill in, find out who's on the accounts, fill their names in for the purpose of the resolution, and then in the blank, fill in the names added, because the bank will want a completed copy, but we can get with that action, we can get the signature page of the resolution completed.
Okay.
And then we'll have another document to sign after that from each account, an actual signature card to complete.
Okay. That concludes the agenda items for discuss and act. And now for executive session. Pursuant to Government Code 551.072 for deliberation regarding real property, 551.087 for deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, and 551.071 for consultation with attorney on pending legal matters, including recent and current economic incentive projects, recent real estate transactions, and pending matters.
And you'll need to state the time.
Oh, and we will go into executive session at 6:15.
And I'll note we have how many minutes till the next board meeting? 15 minutes?
Yes, with 15
So we
minutes.
need to get in and out and then come back to open session to adjourn.
And do we have a place where we can go for executive session, or do we have to kick out the public?
I'm not aware of a place we have.
We go into Mario's office, that's what we've done before.
If I might, the council, where that is available now.
Oh, great.
Okay,
We go in the back room.
we'll go in the back room.
I've never seen the back room. Let's be good.
All right. That's why
Ms. Newman, let's start recording right now.
Okay, I think we've been recording the whole time.
Yeah, but no, when y'all are off.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got it. Okay, so we are now returning from executive session. No action was taken in executive session, and I will now, at the time, 6:33. And I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
All those in favor? Raise your right hand. Thank you, we're adjourned.